Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the Uganda Awakening. In today's video, I'm going to be reacting to Museveni's recent comments in which he alleges that the National Unity Platform rigged elections. Yes, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni has evidence that over 1 million votes was stolen by the National Unity Platform. You cannot make this stuff up. Yes, you cannot. But I will tell you later in the video why I'm going to give Yoweri Kaguta Museveni some credit. So please watch to the end and tell me what you think. Yes, let's get right into it.
I have the facts. NUP can take me to court. And the same seven has falsely accused them. But this is what happened. 1 million votes. And I have all the evidence now.
Amazing. Amazing. Yoweri Kaguta Museveni has all the evidence that the National Unity Platform rigged elections. I'd like to get into another video. But before I do so, of course, the National Unity Platform responded to these allegations. They had to. They had to respond to these allegations. So I am going to first show you a very short video before the response from the National Unity Platform.
What are you saying? What are you saying? What is he saying?
That was one of the first responses in the video that I have just shared, because I stumbled upon this video on Twitter. And in this response, this gentleman, of course, is sharing some of the evidence that people have always heard. Because even during elections, so many short videos were going around of members of the National Resistance Movement, especially those that are connected to plainclothes security operatives. Those, of course, that have influence, major influence and access to voting materials. These were recorded on camera, ticking only, ticking votes, like they had pamphlets of ballots, and they were just ticking away. They were only, of course, ticking away in support of Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. I wonder if that is the sort of evidence Museveni is referring to, because, of course, it is so contradictory, and that is where the irony is. And this is why I'm going to tell you why Museveni is actually smart, and I'm going to give you some credit. But before I get into it, let's talk about what people are saying. Someone just said, you know what? Ebyadala guy at Akadiye. Ebyadala, this guy is tired. Omuntu alabye ne slightly oldest people, I wonder what that one means. Don't joke with nature. Now Museveni is blaming the opposition for rigging elections. And let him go to court and order a new recount. That way we can determine who is the real thief. Yeah, that's a good idea. Someone is surprised. Why are the people in the audience clapping? Yes, I saw my former teacher. I think he's the electoral commissioner within the NRM party. He's there clapping. These people are clapping. And of course, if you look through that video and you see some people that were captured were unsure, is it the time that we clap? Some of them, I have to say, were very unsure as to whether they should be clapping. Many people are saying this man is getting old. Age has caught up with him. When Amplified says that this could be proof that NUP indeed won the 2021 elections. And let's not forget the reason as to why Yoweri Kaguta Museveni went to the bush in the first place. He's just pointing out the irony, I guess. Chacha this man has become shameless. Secretary General David Louis Lubongoya, of course, responded to these allegations. And here is a video.
What I can say is that this is laughable, this is shameless. It's really unbelievable that General Museveni can accuse the National Unity Platform of rigging elections when he knows so well that he engaged in massive election rigging. That election of 2021 has been described as an election from hell, given what the state under his command did. Engaged in ballot stuffing, rigged the elections with impunity, arrested our polling agents, captured people who had our DRR forms. Crime intelligence and police were busy picking up our polling agents who had our DRR forms, collecting them from the field. So how can a man who rigged the elections, and everybody in this country and in the whole world knows that we had an election that was not free and fair, how can he come up to accuse the National Unity Platform of rigging elections? He's shameless. I mean, it's clear that he's setting stage for what he probably wants to do in the next election. You know, actually what he has said today makes you question his claim that the 1980 election was rigged, which forced him to go into the bush. So it seems that right now he knows that he cannot win a popular election in this country, and maybe he's planning something else. So it seems that the election that he claimed was rigged and eventually used that as a basis to go to the bush and, you know, take over power and all that. You know, now Ugandans will begin to question those stories. If he can say such a statement about an election which everybody knows how it went. Remember, it is this election when General Museveni had over 400 polling stations where he got 100% of the vote, all cast in his favor. And meaning that none of these people who had registered on these polling stations ostensibly were absent on that day. None had died, none had transferred. All these people voted and voted for one person, which is ridiculous by all standards, which is impossible. So he rigged this election. I mean, international observers, as you remember, were not accredited to observe the election. I mean, you remember what happened. Then they started abducting our people, doing all sorts of things. And this is a head of state coming up to shamelessly claim that it is a National Unity Platform which rigged. And he gives a figure of 1 million votes. You can imagine how ridiculous that is.
Break down this for us, since you're counsel and you've also taught law. Yeah. The president has categorically stated that you can take him to court, but he's the president. Legally, can he be taken to court over this matter, or even when he has invited you to take him to court on this?
Certainly, you cannot, legally speaking, in the courts of Uganda, and that is why, with all the impunity that goes on there, but even legally speaking, he enjoys this immunity, which in many ways is the reason why he has decided to stick to power for all this time, because he knows that Ugandans cannot challenge him legally on these atrocities and the crimes he continues to commit and his regime. But maybe there is a time when there will be accountability for all this.
So are you planning to pursue his invitation that you take him to court?
Well, what we can challenge him to do is to present his evidence, and we challenge our evidence. If General Museveni says we rigged the elections, why didn't he allow this evidence to be presented in the Supreme Court? You remember they went after Justice Eza Chisache, who actually ruled that Honorable Chagulanyi should have been allowed to present his evidence before the Supreme Court. You know, so why did the state go so hard on her? Why did the state invest so much in making sure that the Supreme Court does not accept the evidence which we were trying to bring into the Supreme Court? And you remember everything they did. So if they know that they have any evidence, we challenge them to bring it and to bring ours. In any case, we've already said let there be an audit. Of course, an audit overseen by people who are credible, by the international community, by the United Nations. And we shall present our evidence to show that General Museveni and his regime, we have DR forms which were tampered with, which show that the votes which we got at polling station are not the votes which the Electoral Commission, headed by Byabakama, announced. So we have all this evidence. And so if General Museveni says he has this evidence, let him bring it, let us bring ours, let there be an independent audit of the 2021 election.
There you have it. There you have it. The Secretary General, David Louis Luvongoya, has come out guns blazing, I must say. He is standing on business. There are a few things that he has said in this video. He has stated that if indeed there is any evidence that the National Unity Platform indeed rigged elections by 1 million votes, why then was that Justice Chisache castigated? Why did the state go so hard on her for ruling that indeed the Honorable Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, aka Bobi Wine, has grounds on which the Supreme Court should hear this case when it comes to this election that was described as an election from hell? Why? Why? And if indeed Yoweri Kaguta Museveni went to the bush to fight for justice, why is he at the same time being the main culprit when it comes to elections that are only stage managed to ensure that he is the only one that must be chosen? I mean, he goes through areas in which the NRM got 100% of the vote. You cannot tell me that in these areas, the population is first and foremost higher than the people that are recorded to exist in those areas. And even if you want to overlook that, you cannot tell me that there's 100% turnout when it comes to voting, especially in these remote areas where people struggle to access even basic human services. You are telling me that these individuals, through the sacrifice that is required for them to access polling stations, that they will arrive at these polling stations and they will 100% unequivocally vote the NRM. Yeah, it is incredible. And if you are to look at how the state operatives, especially the security, their behavior, when the whole world was watching the brutality of the army and the police with many people gunned down, the president himself, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, has boasted that the NRM is the master of violence. And it trickles down because he is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. They go on with the impunity, pick up supporters of the People Power Movement, the National Unity Platform. They pick them up simply because of their political opinion and their allegiance to the cause, which is, of course, was to win the elections. They don't stop at that. Those DRR forms of recorded votes that have been cast in that area in correspondence to the turnout, but also determine that, of course, elections in those areas were won by Kyagulanyi Ssentamu. Why were those DRR forms confiscated or tampered with? Why were the people in possession of these DRR forms arrested or attacked? Why were the people that had all these forms that determined that elections took place in particular areas, why did they have to be on the run from security forces? And for years, political prisoners are still in military custody without evidence. 4 years. So what are the people saying about the Secretary General's response? Yeah, NBS is not one of the most trusted televisions in Uganda. You can tell by the comments. One of them says, Lero, Kati TV will be on this topic for the whole September. Yes, this NBS is now it has gotten a topic for the whole of September. Mr. Museveni must be ashamed of himself. Away from the camera, his nonsensical spews about the NUP are so embarrassing. How will my grandma, who doesn't even possess a button phone, vote electronically? Muzei is outdated. Yeah, of course, I did not complete this entire video because he goes on to state that Yoweri Kaguta Museveni now suggests that the only way to ensure that there is free and fair elections, there has to be a digital intervention, and that people will only have to vote digitally, and that is how it is going to be possible for him to get rid of vote rigging, says the master of voting. Now, here is my compliment towards Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. I have to applaud him on this, because when it comes to the puppet master, I feel like if you are a puppet master, you have to have a certain awareness when it comes to timing. It is not just you go moving your fingers around and the puppets dance to the audience. Museveni is a grand puppet master, and he knows that while Ugandans are running around shouting that, yes, stop corruption, we should stop individuals that are hell-bent at stealing government resources. You know what he is stealing from us in the background that is even more valuable than public funds? It is time. Museveni mastered a tactic of timing. And this is what I mean. When it comes to diversions, there is no better man than Museveni. He knows what he is doing. He knows that by making these remarks that are not popular, remarks that he could have made right after the elections, even during his inauguration speech, Museveni could have mentioned these allegations, could have said that I have evidence that the National Unity Platform has been rigging elections, and this is the evidence. But he held on to this. He knew when he was going to come out and make these allegations. Of course, first and foremost, laughable as it might seem to everyone that has responded in anger or with surprise, with any level of shock, it means that we are going to spend more time talking about this topic, while in the background there is a lot going on. Because for him, in his book, he is already planning for 2 elections ahead. And that, I feel, is what has kept this monster in power. There is no other way you can make sense of how Museveni has held Ugandans' minds with these deceptive strings that hold all these puppets around, that make it hard for us to critically think and analyze what his next move is. Because now, this news is making waves. In the background, who knows? Before we know it, a bill is going to be tabled, and that bill, I am very certain that it's going to be tabled. A bill in which the powers to choose the next president will be taken away from the ordinary people of Uganda. And now these powers will be a reserve of the parliamentarians. Remember, they are trying to clip the wings of the opposition, the leader of opposition in parliament, by taking away the privilege of the leading opposition party in parliament to choose the leader of opposition. After Joel Senyonyi has refused to play by the rules. So look at the timing. Look at the timing. We are talking about Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, a puppet master. Forget about the general. We are talking about the puppet master, a man that has stolen time again and again from Ugandans. And while we run towards the shiny headlines in the background, this man is doing something sinister, something that will constantly keep him in power. We need to be careful. We need to be very careful, because without a major awakening, Uganda is going in ruins. That's it. That's the video for today. Cheers. Bye.